I work night shifts at a hospital in Jackson, Mississippi, usually 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. 12 hours of alarms, half-lit hallways, and patients in various states of emergency. You learn to shut a part of yourself off, just to make it through. But some nights still get to you, especially the quiet ones. This story happened on one of those nights. I just clocked out after one of the worst shifts I can remember. We lost a patient an hour before changeover, and the family's crying was still echoing in my head. I was emotionally drained, physically spent, and just wanted to get home, take a shower, and forget about it all. I only had about 20 minutes to go, but my gas tank was riding the line, so I pulled off at a 24-hour gas station off the highway, one I'd stopped at before, usually uneventful. It was around 7:15 a.m., sun barely up, sky still holding on to that pale gray-blue haze. One other car at the pump, a white sedan, and no one inside the convenience store that I could see. I parked on the side facing the big glass windows. Figured I'd run in for coffee first, then fill up. Just enough to stay awake on the last leg. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed like they were tired too. The clerk barely looked up from his phone. I grabbed a bottled cold brew, paid in cash, nodded a tired thanks, and walked back out. That's when I noticed the truck. It wasn't there when I pulled in. Old, maybe 90s model, dented hood and faded red paint. It was parked directly next to my car, even though every other spot in the lot was wide open. Windows tinted, engine off. I looked over and saw him. Hands on the wheel, nothing else. No reason to feel weird, but I did. He was staring straight ahead, but I couldn't tell if he was looking at me through the corner of his eye. Whatever. Maybe he was waiting for someone inside. I got into my car and shut the door. Didn't start the engine right away. Just sat there sipping the coffee, trying to shake the weight of the night. That was the moment I saw it. He'd turned his head. Now he was definitely looking at me. Not just looking, staring. I tried to avoid eye contact. I thought maybe I was being dramatic. Maybe he was zoning out, looking through me, not at me. So I kept sipping my drink, eyes forward. A few minutes passed. Then I tested something. I shifted in my seat, just a little, like I might be reaching for the ignition. His hand twitched, like he was about to start his truck. I waited. Didn't move. Neither did he. I picked up my phone and texted my roommate, "At gas station, weird guy parked next to me. Just letting you know." Then added a location pin, just in case. Another couple of minutes passed. I figured I was being paranoid. Exhaustion makes people jumpy. But still, I didn't like how he was parked so close. I didn't like how he hadn't moved. I didn't like how his windows were so dark I couldn't see anything else in the cab. I decided to test it again. I reached down and pressed the start button on my car. The truck's engine turned over immediately. Okay, that wasn't my imagination. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. I put the car in reverse, but didn't move. His truck didn't move either. I shifted back into park, and again, his truck went quiet. That's when it clicked. He was mimicking me, watching me close enough to match every move. I locked the doors. I hadn't even realized they were still open. I thought about calling the police, reporting it. But he wasn't doing anything wrong, just sitting there. That's not a crime. It didn't seem like enough. Instead, I took a photo of his truck through my side mirror, just low enough not to be obvious. Sent that to my roommate too. Then I sat. I let 5 minutes pass. 10. I didn't touch anything. He didn't either. Just stared. Every few minutes I'd look at him. Same expression, eyes forward, hands resting like he was ready for something. It felt like a standoff, and I was starting to feel trapped. The lot was empty, except for us. The clerk couldn't see us from inside. I checked. My car was boxed in on one side by a pillar, and if I tried to drive out quick, he could easily follow, or worse, block me completely. Then a silver SUV pulled in from the main road. I've never been more relieved to see a stranger. The SUV parked behind me, like right behind me. Close enough that I thought maybe they were annoyed I was just sitting there. The guy inside was on the phone, didn't seem to notice what was going on. But the second that SUV pulled in, the man in the truck started his engine again. This time, he backed up slowly, didn't look at me, didn't look at anyone, just pulled out and drove away like nothing happened. I waited a minute, then pulled forward into a new pump spot, just to see which way the truck had gone. But he was gone, nowhere in sight. I walked back inside and asked the clerk if he recognized the truck. He didn't even look up. Red Ford? Yeah. He's been around before. Never buys anything, just sits. Doesn't that seem weird to you? I asked. He shrugged. This part of town? Everyone's weird. I finished filling up and drove home with one eye on the rearview mirror the entire time. I don't know what he wanted. I don't know what would have happened if I'd gotten out of my car, or if the SUV hadn't shown up. All I know is he was waiting for something, and I'm really glad I never gave it to him. Even now, I avoid that gas station. Doesn't matter how tired I am, I'd rather risk running out of gas than ever see that truck again. I've been doing rideshare in Detroit since 2017. Night shifts, mostly. People always say that's when the crazies come out, but honestly, I've seen more weird stuff during brunch runs in the suburbs. That said, what happened one night in late October 2019 still gets to me, and I've got a pretty thick skin. It started like any other shift. I had just grabbed coffee from a gas station on 8 Mile. Cold as hell out, light mist coming down, slick streets, streetlights giving off that weird yellow-orange glow. I was dead in the middle of my usual 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. block, running pickups mostly around downtown and midtown. The app pinged me for a ride near an old bar off Gratiot. The pin was right outside a dive called McCaffrey's. I pulled up slow, scanned the sidewalk. Nobody with a phone out, no one looking around. But just as I'm about to cancel, a guy steps off the curb like he'd been waiting for me. He walks right up and opens the back door without a word. Now let me paint this guy. Mid-30s, black puffer jacket, dark jeans, no hat, no phone in hand. Not drunk, not sloppy, but something about him didn't sit right. His movements were too controlled, too precise. He slides in, shuts the door, and just says, "West Side." "West Side where?" I ask, trying to keep it light. "You got a street name, man?" He pauses. Then, "Just drive. I'll tell you when to turn." I looked at my screen. No name popped up, no destination, just a ghost ping with no info, like it glitched. That's rare, but not impossible. "You sure this is your ride?" I asked. "Yeah," he said flatly. "Let's go." I should have told him to get out. I should have trusted my gut. But I figured, worst case, I drop him a few blocks and bounce. So I pull off, heading west on Gratiot. We're cruising through mostly empty streets. He's not saying a word. I look at the mirror a few times. He's not on his phone. He's not even looking at me, just out the window like he's expecting something. Or someone. 10 minutes go by. Not a single direction. Not a single word. Finally, I say, "Hey man, you want to tell me where we're going, or should I just circle the city?" He shifts a little in his seat. Doesn't look at me. Left on McGraw. That's on the edge of some real rundown areas. Not somewhere you go unless you've got business there. But I don't say anything. I take the left. Then I notice he's looking out the window more. Quick, darting looks, like he's scanning alleys or looking behind us. That's when I start to feel the tension crawling up my back. "Everything good?" I ask casually. He doesn't answer. We keep rolling. I start thinking about how my car has a dash cam up front, but no rear one. I've got mace in the side pocket and a crowbar under the seat, but I've never had to use either. Finally, we hit a red light. I say, "Look, man, you gotta tell me where we're going. I'm not just driving blind all night." Nothing. I shift the car into park. He leans forward just slightly. I grip the wheel tighter. Then out of nowhere, headlights flash behind us. A cruiser. Detroit PD. In that instant, the guy yanks the door handle, jumps out, and takes off across the street. Doesn't even look back. Just vanishes into an alley. I sat there stunned for a second. The light turned green. The cruiser rolled past without stopping. I almost flagged them down, but something told me not to. Maybe I didn't want to explain how I let some random guy in my car without checking the ride details. I drove straight home. Didn't take another pickup that night. Next morning, I'm drinking coffee and flipping through local news on my phone. There it is. Plain as day. Mugshot. Same guy. His name was Kyle something. Wanted for multiple assaults, one of them just 2 nights before. They said he'd been using fake rideshare pickups to find victims. I just stared at the photo. He hadn't said more than 10 words the whole ride. Never looked me in the eye. But I'll never forget the way he stepped off that curb like he belonged in my back seat. I reported the whole thing to the rideshare company. Sent screenshots, the location, even a rough timestamp. Never heard back. I still drive at night. Still get weird pings now and then. But now, I never start the ride until the name matches. And I always make sure they say it first. I don't scare easy, but I've learned it's not always about the people who act crazy. Sometimes it's the quiet ones, the ones who slip in without a word, the ones who don't seem dangerous until they decide it's time to be. I was 21 and heading home for the summer, just finished my last final of junior year. The sun had already set behind the Blue Ridge Mountains, leaving that purple-gray kind of light over everything. You know the one. It makes the trees feel closer than they are, like they're leaning in to listen. It was just me, my good old Civic, and a duffel bag full of laundry and half-eaten snacks. I'd taken the scenic route on purpose. Highway 276 has some of the best views in North Carolina, and honestly, I needed the headspace. Windows cracked, music low, just cruising through those long, quiet curves. Then I saw her. She was on the shoulder, maybe 20 yards ahead. A girl, probably around my age, standing still, facing traffic with both arms kind of raised, like she couldn't decide if she was waving or holding herself together. She had jeans and a tank top on, and from the glow of my headlights, I could see her face was streaked with tears. I slowed down fast, heart already thumping with adrenaline, not fear, just that feeling you get when something urgent lands in your lap. I pulled over just ahead of her and rolled down the passenger window. "You okay?" She took a couple steps toward the car. I lost my phone. I was walking and it fell somewhere back there in the grass, I think. "Can you help me find it, please? I need to call someone." Her voice cracked on the last part. She didn't sound fake, just tired and freaked out. I unlocked the doors and said, "Yeah, sure, I've got a flashlight in the glove." She got in the passenger seat while I leaned across and rummaged around. Handed it to her, and we both got out. We started walking back along the shoulder together, maybe 40 feet or so. She kept aiming the light at the ground, waving it slowly like she was trying to summon something. I asked her where she was walking from, and she said something vague like, "Just around here." It wasn't until we were both crouching to look through a patch of taller grass that I noticed something weird. Her eyes. They kept flicking, not toward the ground, but toward the tree line off the road. At first, I thought maybe she was just nervous being out here with a stranger. Totally fair. I made a joke to lighten the mood, like, "You sure it didn't grow legs and walk off into the woods?" And she gave me a tight smile but didn't laugh. Kept looking at the same patch of trees. I straightened up and turned to follow her gaze. There was a figure, barely visible, standing halfway behind a pine trunk. I wouldn't have noticed if they hadn't shifted. Just a twitch of a shoulder or something. It was enough. I stepped back. "Hey, did you say you were walking alone?" She didn't answer, just took one big step away from me. Then the figure moved. Fast. I didn't wait to see more. I bolted, straight back to my car, keys already in my hand. I heard footsteps behind me. More than one set. Crunching gravel, snapping twigs. That sound of someone trying to move fast without being loud. I didn't turn around. I didn't shout. I just ran. I got in, slammed the door, locked it, and fired up the engine. The girl was gone. Just vanished. I hit the gas and peeled off like something was actually chasing me. Maybe it was. Maybe not. I didn't stop driving until I saw the lights of a gas station 2 towns over. I parked, got out, checked the back seat, the undercarriage, nothing. I didn't even tell anyone at first. Just went home, hugged my mom like I hadn't seen her in a year, and took the longest shower of my life. I tried to convince myself I overreacted, that it was just a couple of kids messing around. But the next morning, when I went out to unpack my car, I saw something that made my throat go dry. 2 sets of muddy footprints. One on the passenger side, small, barefoot, the other by the driver's door. Work boots. Big ones. Neither were mine. I stood there for a long time, just staring. Like if I looked hard enough, maybe it'd make sense. But it didn't. Still doesn't. I don't take that road anymore. It was just past 11 p.m. when I pulled off the 14 into a small gas station on the edge of Santa Clarita. I'd just wrapped up a long day finishing a release deadline for the company I work for. Automation testing, back-end debugging, the usual. Nothing overly stressful, just long. My brain was running a little slow, like when you shut down too many background processes and everything feels too quiet. That station was almost empty. One car at the far end, someone inside with the engine running, probably half asleep. The lot was lit well enough, but it had that eerie stillness you only notice when you're already tired. I just slid my card into the machine. I don't think I was even paying attention while pumping the gas. I remember staring off toward the dark hills behind the station, wondering how many mountain lions were probably lurking out there. Dumb thought, but that's how my brain decompresses. Little logic games and what-if scenarios. Once the tank clicked full, I got back in, tossed my phone into the cup holder, and drove off. About 5 minutes later, I noticed something was off in the cabin. Not a smell or a noise at first. Just something. It's hard to explain. My seat felt the same. The AC was running like always, and the Bluetooth had synced. But there was this subtle shift, like when you know someone's entered a room behind you, but you didn't hear them. A presence. I looked at the mirror. Nothing. Rear seat looked exactly how I'd left it. Gym bag on one side, hoodie on the other. Still, I couldn't shake it. My fingers hovered over the phone, but I didn't open anything. I just kept driving. I tried to logic it away. Maybe I was picking up on the taillights of the car behind me. Maybe the pressure changed because of a cracked window. Maybe I was just overtired and reading into stuff that wasn't there. Then the AC fan shifted slightly, just enough that the airflow in the backseat area seemed different. And with it, I caught it. Breathing, not mine. It was faint, like someone trying to stay quiet. No rasp, no cough, just steady inhales and exhales. I didn't even flinch. I just sat up straighter and kept my hands at 10 and 2. Okay, this is happening. I didn't panic. I've worked through DDoS attacks and back-end outages in the middle of the night. I've dealt with crazy startup deadlines. But this was different. My mind broke it into steps. Step 1, do not stop the car. Step 2, don't make it obvious I know. Step 3, get to a public place. I turned the volume up on the stereo, just a bit, enough to make them think I hadn't noticed anything. I even started talking out loud about how I was excited to get home, how tired I was. The way you do when you pretend to take a phone call to ward off weird guys in parking lots. Still breathing. I adjusted my rearview mirror again. Fast look. Nothing. But I knew. We hit a red light, and I spotted it. A Chevron station ahead, just off the right side of the intersection. Still open. Bright. Cameras everywhere. Perfect. I took the right turn, braked hard, just enough to make it jarring, and then I threw it into park and flung the door open. I barely got 2 steps out before I heard it. Back door opening. Running footsteps. Fast. Fading. I didn't look. Not immediately. I got inside the station, straight to the counter. The cashier, young guy, maybe high school, just blinked at me like I'd walked in with my hair on fire. I asked if I could use their phone, told him someone had been hiding in my car. He looked outside. I didn't see anybody, he said. You sure? I nodded. Told him about the breathing, about the shift in the cabin air, about the back door slamming. Cops showed up 20 minutes later. They were nice enough, took a statement, and checked the car. Looks like the back left door doesn't fully latch sometimes, one of them said. Might have left it open for a second. That's all it takes. I didn't argue. They didn't find the guy, never got a name, no prints. He didn't take anything, not even my phone or purse that had been in the front. He wasn't trying to rob me. Just hide. Or wait. I still check my backseat every time I get in the car, even if it's been locked the whole time. I was somewhere between Tulsa and Amarillo when I pulled off the highway for gas. It was pushing 1:30 in the morning, and the last 2 hours had been nothing but road, silence, and a never-ending playlist of songs I only half liked. One of those drives where your mind drifts and the high beams catch more bugs than anything else. I wasn't tired yet, but I figured I should top off the tank and grab something to munch on. You never know when the next station will pop up in the middle of nowhere. I took the exit without thinking too hard. The gas station sat alone off a 2-lane road, just beyond a row of dried-out fields and a collapsed billboard. One of those little corner joints that probably sold bait and oil filters in the same aisle. The lights felt like they were working overtime just to stay on. There wasn't another car in sight. Just an old red pickup parked near the far end of the lot. I pulled up to the pump, killed the engine, and got out. The air had that dusty Oklahoma smell, and the night was so still I could hear my sneakers crunching on gravel. I started pumping gas and looked around, checking out the station. The place looked dated, but clean. Neon beer signs in the windows, one flickering light above the door, and then I saw him. A guy was standing by the side of the station, maybe 10 feet from the pumps. He wasn't smoking, wasn't doing anything, just standing there. I hadn't noticed him when I pulled in. He wasn't leaning against anything or looking at his phone. Just there, like a statue, facing me. I nodded out of reflex, gave a small half wave. He didn't move. Okay, I finished up, replaced the nozzle, and headed inside to grab something quick. A soda, maybe a candy bar. The automatic door creaked open. The inside was what you'd expect. Cool air, fluorescent lighting, dusty shelves stacked with off-brand chips. A radio played quietly behind the counter. Some classic rock station on low volume. The clerk was behind the counter. Middle-aged guy with a camo hat and a mustache that looked like it could hold a whole story by itself. He gave me a nod. Pump 3? Yeah, I said. Gonna grab a drink too. He watched me as I moved toward the coolers. And that's when I heard it. Click. I turned around. He'd locked the front door. Everything all right? I asked, trying not to make it a thing. He didn't answer right away, just stared at the door. Then he turned slowly back toward me. Don't go back outside yet. Something in his voice made me stop. There was no panic. He didn't raise his voice. It just had a weight that made me listen. Why? He leaned forward, voice low. That guy out there? He ain't here for gas. Been standing there too long. Didn't move when you showed up. Didn't move when you walked inside. I looked over my shoulder, past the shelves toward the window. And yeah, the guy was still there, still staring, hands at his sides. I laughed a little, more out of nerves than humor. Maybe he's just waiting for someone? No car. Been here over 30 minutes. Just watching. That got my attention. The clerk slowly walked out from behind the counter and reached under the register. When he came back up, he had a revolver in one hand. You ever been hunted, son? I shook my head. Then keep your voice down and stay away from the windows. Something about the way he said it, no dramatics, just fact, made my skin crawl. We crouched behind the counter together, peeking through the tiny security mirror aimed at the pumps. The guy outside hadn't moved. You seen him before? I whispered. 3 nights ago. Same time. Different car pulled in. Lone driver. Guy stood in the same spot. Didn't say a word. Then walked off into the dark when the driver came back out. He shifted the revolver in his hand. Sheriff says he's probably just casing people, waiting to see who's alone. I couldn't believe this was happening. I tried to stay calm, but I was doing the mental math of how fast I could make it back to my car. The door was maybe 15 feet away. My keys were in my pocket. Then we heard the tap. Not a knock. A tap. The guy was at the door. I peeked through the racks. He was right up against the glass, one hand pressed flat against it, eyes scanning inside. His head tilted like he was trying to see past the glare. He tried the handle. It rattled. The clerk raised the gun. Didn't point it. Just held it up. We waited. The man outside stood there another 20 seconds, maybe more. Then he stepped back, looked around once, and walked away. Just like he was bored. Like he was done. We watched him cross the lot and disappear behind the building. Didn't hear an engine. Didn't see a car. The clerk didn't unlock the door until the sheriff showed up 20 minutes later. I gave a statement. Not that there was much to say. No plates, no interaction. Just a guy who stood and watched. Before I left, the clerk handed me a cup of coffee and said, "Word of advice, never ignore your gut. And if a place feels wrong, don't stop." I got back in my car and drove off with all the windows up, doors locked, and one eye on the rear view the whole time. A week later, I called the station to thank the guy. No one picked up. If you've ever realized the scariest part of the road is knowing no one's coming to save you, smash that like button, hit subscribe so you never miss the next scare, and let us know what you do behind the wheel. And if you think truckers only deal with long hauls and bad coffee, you haven't seen what's really out there. Click now to watch 4 very disturbing trucker horror stories, because the road doesn't care if you scream, it just keeps going. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.